keep yourself muted so you can give your contributions in the chat box. The panelists will be starting their videos as well as they will be unmuting themselves, but the rest of the speakers, rest of the people will be keeping their microphones muted and will be giving their contributions in the chat box. Let me start with all the logistical reminders at the beginning of the meeting. Hello, everyone. My name is Bahar Yalçın. I work for the Foundation for Support of Women's Work. And let me give you a small reminder about the language options. For you to listen to the meeting in your own language, you can select channels accordingly. I think this is the best advantage of the Zoom application. Okay, I was talking about the language option. For Turkish language, you are kindly asked to select a Japanese language, and for Arabic language, you are kindly asked to select the Spanish language. As I said before, currently, there are Turkish and Arabic language options in the updated versions of Zoom, but there might be some people who are not using the most up-to-date version of Zoom. That is why we wanted to go with the traditional way of assigning Japanese instead of Turkish, for example. Well, I think we can get started. Welcome once again. Hopefully, we are going to have a nice meeting, a nice broadcasting and streaming together. My name is Bahar Yalçın from Foundation for Support of Women's Work. And in today's meeting, we are going to listen to each other and disseminate good practices around the world. In the last 30 years, we have been working under the leadership of women, and we believe that we can eliminate poverty among women and many other challenges under the leadership of women. And it occurred to us that women coming together can change anything, and inequalities and poverty have been more visible because of the pandemic. But still, thanks to this pandemic, we have also learned that we need each other even more than ever, and we can do a lot together. And we very much believe in the fact that we can act together and we can change communities, society, starting from our own neighborhoods, and we can change the world together. That is why we need to listen to each other. We need to hear from each other. We need to join forces. In this meeting too, we are going to listen to a variety of institutions, representatives from a variety of institutions about what they have done, how they got engaged in the solidarity with the rest of the women, and what have been their achievements by coming together, and what have been the outcomes of coming together as women, and what have been the contributions, the overall advantages of coming together. We are going to listen to our panelists in this respect, and we want to share good practices because as we hear about good practices, we are getting strengthened and empowered. And we will also have a round of discussion about how we can empower each other and how we can strengthen each other. And we have today people from Turkey and Sweden, Lebanon, South Africa. We have institutions from those countries. We have Sweden, Christina Merker, representing Yalla Trapan Corporation. We have Lebanon, Dama Foundation, and we have South Africa and Mary Tell, representing Whole World Women Association. And from Turkey, we have Gülten Bingöl from İlk Adım Women Cooperative, and we have Abdurrezzaq from Turkey Syrian Women Network. And during this pandemic, as the Foundation for Support of Women's Work, we have been engaged in a program which is called from house to house. We are going to have some representatives, neighborhood representatives. He will be taking the floor, and we are going to give the floor to the general director as well to make an overall observation and evaluation. And this is what we're going to do. I don't want to take much of your time. I have already taken much of your time. Let me introduce you to Meryem. He is going to be the moderator of today. And she works for She works as general director for the United Nations Fund against violence against women, for violence against women, and she has extensive experience in the United Nations and in women works area as well. So we are so much happy to be having her today, and we're so much delighted to see her moderating this session today. We are going to be benefiting from her experience as well. Over to you, Miss Mariam.
Thank you very much, Bahar, and thank you to KEDV for organizing this very important meeting. It is amazing to see all the participants, but also the panelists who are coming from Europe, from Africa, from Middle East, participating, and from Turkey to participating in this panel to share their experiences of women coming together, building collective action and solidarity, and the lessons learned from here. As Bahar said, we have 6 speakers, and I will invite you one by one, and I will ask you a couple of questions, and each of you will have 10 minutes. And I am gonna, with your permission, really cut the intervention in 10 minutes. Please, no offense on that, because we have to finish by 5, and then we have to also give some time for questions to be answered. So can I please invite now Christina Merker from Yalla Trappan Cooperative in Sweden to intervene. And Christina, I would like you to focus on 2-3 questions in your intervention. One is, it will be great if you, I mean, I know that you are a cooperative that is working with refugees and trying to fund employment for the refugees. But if you can please shortly tell us, one, what is your motivation? What motivates you to bring women together and to build solidarity among women and to build a collective action? Second, what do you think works? What are the in bringing women together and building that collective action? And then what are the lessons learned? What would you have done differently if you were gonna start your work today? And then lastly, if you can, please shortly tell us how COVID-19 affected women's collective action, how it has impacted it, and what are the lessons learned, positive or negative, no, in this COVID-19, and how do you think we will go forward in bringing women together and building collective actions and movements for women to come together and find collective solutions to issues they are facing. Please, Christina. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I will not remember all the questions, but you have to interrupt me.
Yeah,
or
I will
tell them again.
Sure.
Well, first of all, this is so important. I'm so thankful for being invited. And we also have 2 women with us here today from Sweden. And you can see them, it's Umi, and I can't see who it's more, but so it's not only me, there are 2 other women. But to start from the beginning, I will say like this, that it's absolutely natural for me to think about one word, one solidarity movement among all the women, in spite of where we come from, in spite of what language, what religion, what color, whatever we have. So this is the ground for why we are making what we are making today. And that means that we have many refugees from different countries in Sweden. And if I say at Yalla Trappan, only at Yalla Trappan, where we today have 45 women working, have salaries and so on. They are from about 20 different nations around the world. And I will say that we are a mini United Nation with that difference that we can agree with each other. because we focus on what we people have in common and not what's dividing us. And there are so many things that we have in common of hope, and hope for education, hope for a life, and a good life for both ourselves and for our children. So when we started this, it was there were so many women from other countries, refugees coming to Sweden, who didn't have too much with them when it was about education and work experiences. So we have to always build from the bottom, and we built from the skills that the women had. And that means from the beginning, there had no, their thoughts about themselves was that they didn't have any chance in the new country where they're coming, because they didn't have any education, perhaps 1 year in school or 2 years in school, and so on. But of course, they could do a lot of things. So we started there. What kind of skills do they have? And they have been working, of course, at home. So we took we started there. So it was about cooking, it was about sewing, it was about cleaning. And then we put on an even more education in those different areas. So nowadays we are a social entrepreneur working on integration, social entrepreneurship. And we have expanded a lot since we started. We were 6 from the beginning, and we are 45 now. And the target group is that I mentioned. And I also think that this is so important, because the mothers, they are very often, the middle of the family. So the big difference is between a mother sitting at home at the kitchen table, who had lots of empowerment and good thoughts about themselves and their opportunities to do something in the society. And the opposite is when most of the women that came to Jalalhapan had long time of depression and very much of so to say loneliness, and it was really hard for them. They were mostly they have only been working in their homes. So what we do is to change the mindset of the women, so they can see themselves as working women outside, also outside the home. And this is something that takes time. You have to have patience. You have to have the empowerment and the support, and you have to respect each woman where they stand and build from that. And so this is the key of the Jalaltrappan. And also I think that we have shown that we are a cooperative, and that means that we have also all the women are, so to say, involved in the rule of the cooperative. They also are a part of the decisions and so on. So it's not only a question about that we have created our works ourselves. It's also about democracy, because if you give the women the thought of themselves and the knowledge, what they can do outside the home, to work together with others in the society, you strengthen them in a way that it's also that can take part in the society in other areas, not only in the work, but they vote now. They didn't vote from the beginning to the parliament, for example, and now they vote and so on. So I think if you don't do anything, you will create this gap between those who have and those who haven't. And the gap between those two sectors in the family, it's so dangerous for the society, because out of that comes a lot of violence and polarization in the society. So what we do, we try to minimize that gap, at least for those families and the women from Jallatrappan. And we also have impact on the society, I think, because there are many rules and other things that have been changing during the last year in Sweden. So what's the question? I've forgotten.
No, I think it is excellent what you are saying. You are answering all the questions. Don't worry. But I think it is very interesting. I mean, you talked about a couple of tactics that are important issues that contributed to your success. You said we focus on our commonalities, not our differences. And then you said we build from the bottom. We concentrate on the skills and knowledge women have, not what they don't have, but what they have, and build from there. And then you said that it is important to respect women in their position and try to build from there. So these are all very, very, very important issues or important elements probably contributing to your success. And then you said also that you try to minimize inequality. I mean, this is one of the motivation you have, that minimize the inequality, economic, social inequality in the society as a way of building social cohesion and reducing risk of violence. No?
Exactly.
Yeah. And this is excellent. But I think if you think a little bit, if you have some more strategies, tactics you think that are important, because it is really bringing 20 women from 20 different nationality, or 45 million women, you said, from 20 different nationality is an art. Huh? And even, when you are not a refugee, women, when they come back together, they always talk about power differentiation between themselves and concentrate on negativity instead of positivity, But you are working with 45 minutes from the women from 20 different nationality. What else is contributing to your success? But also, what are the lessons learned, do you think? I mean, what would you have done differently? Is there anything that you think that we should be careful, any mistake, any risk that you think we should be careful in bringing women together and using their potential to work together and to achieve together?
Okay, well, I will say like this, that you have to have patience, because it takes time to change things. And I think very often, because what I'm doing just now is I'm traveling along Sweden, and I'm trying to help to start a similar Yalla in other places, and there are some already. Yeah. But I think it's not a quick fix. Yeah. You have to be patient. You have to think in the sustainability when it's about time as well. And I think that you also have to support and show up every step of success. Every step of success, how little it is, it doesn't matter. And then you also have to have expecting that the women have ideas, have talents that they haven't been shown before, that they could decide in things. And that's also that you have to have a very democratic way to use for people, for the women to speak up. And that means that each woman have to say what's her opinion. Otherwise, it's only one or two who speaks all the time. Mm. So that you have to have a structure, so it's democratic. Each one are going to say something, even if it's just repeating what the woman before had said. It doesn't matter. You have to be coming with to hear your own voice in the public. Another thing I think it's very important is that we are a non-profit organization, and that means that we are for the benefit of the society and the benefit for the women. And that means the other side of the society is the municipality and the government and so on. So in the municipality of Malmö, I have found out that it's very important to have good relations with the public sector, because the public sector should give all those welfare to each membership of Sweden, but they lack here and there, and they don't know what kind of method they should use to bring the women that we are working with up to our work or to that kind of empowerment. So I think that you could be a very good complement to the municipality's welfare system. And we have the ideas because we have another structure, because we are non-profit. And those structures mean that we are so free to create new ways to learn different things.
Thank you. I think we are starting to steal from others' time, Christina. I think it is excellent intervention. Thank you very much. And there are already a lot of questions on the chat box, but I think we will come to the questions later at the end of the discussion. Now, if you allow me, I will go to Gülten Bingöl.
Gülten, I am going to pose the very same questions to your side as well. You are representing
regarding the women in Turkey as well as the refugee women living in Turkey. It is the same thing that you face. If we may, we would like to receive answers to 3 or 4 questions. First of all, what was the thing that motivated you? How did you guys come together and started this initiative? After all, you have this mentality of working together as women belonging to different cultures and different nations. You work in close solidarity, and you support them to work in close cooperation. What kind of strategies do you employ to do so? What kind of methods have you opted for? What makes you successful in this work? What are the elements that lead the path to success? What have you learned from? What are your gains from this process? And how were you influenced by COVID-19 pandemics? I mean, bringing together women and encouraging them to work together. How did COVID-19 affect you in this way? Hello, this is Gülten Bingöl from İlk Adım Women's Cooperative. How did we come together? Let me answer this question at first. We are in Kağıthane Nurtepe in Istanbul. This is a district of Istanbul that receives a lot of migrants and poor people with restricted income live here. Everywhere we go with the women, we take those hardships with us, and we are coming from the rural parts of Turkey, and we are also facing the hardships posed by the cities. We have lots of kids. Women have lots of kids. We do not have the chance to work on ourselves or to build skills. So we came from the same hardships and we could come together. This brought us to KEDV, and when we were working with them, women, when they come together in their own districts, they started thinking how to empower themselves because no one else could help them, how they could work together with their children. We received trainings in the foundation, and then when we went back to our districts, to our neighborhood, we informed our neighbors, our sisters, and in 2004 we established our cooperative, İlk Adım Women's Cooperative. Since 2004, we have been working to the extent that we can. We have been extending our helping hand to all those in need, especially women and children. Our overall objective was to empower the women in terms of finances, to teach them how to live in a democratic environment, and to train women so that they could raise their kids in a democratic environment. Therefore, we established a playground, a room for children where women, when they were engaged in different activities, could leave their kids, their children in the playground, in the playroom. And on the other hand, they continued with trainings. They started lots of trainings. We increased their awareness on domestic violence, and there were a variety of topics. There were trainers from KEDV, and they sent us their trainers, and women received these trainings. I can confidently say that this is a place for women. This is their place, this is their fortress. They can come here anytime they like. The door is always open to them. They can open up to themselves. They can vent here. They can cry here. They can work in anything that they would like to here. This is really precious to us because us, women, cannot always find the place for ourselves in social life. In order for us to empower ourselves, we are hesitant. I mean, sometimes we have to gain that confidence. Only then we can stand on our own feet. Both we help women to express themselves in a freely manner and to be the candidates of the life that they deserve to live. As for COVID-19, how did it impact us? It was so clear. This is a disaster that suddenly came upon all of us. We suddenly stayed where we were and we started reflecting on what could be done. We are poor. People were losing their jobs. They were getting sick with COVID-19. They could not receive the basic health services from the hospitals. So within our solidarity, we started paying visits. Throughout Turkey, we decided to understand what the other cooperatives were doing. Again, KEDV directed us. We talked to them through Zoom platforms, or we talked to them over the phone. We set up meetings over the Zoom. We empowered one another. We were never alone. We went back to our neighborhood. We heard what's going on in the neighborhood, how the women are affected from COVID-19, what is their latest situation, financial situation. There were with the group leader of our playroom, we determined women who were in really dire situations. We provided them with basic supplies or hygiene supplies, hygiene kits. We supported one another. As for the legal consultations, we received trainings on face-to-face, and we were able to provide the women with legal consultations as well. When the war in Syria first started in Syria, suddenly we were surrounded by women with lots of children speaking an alien language. We had no idea what they were saying. We were deeply influenced, and this is where we began. Well, this is the very original spot where we first took the first step. We first determined our problems by ourselves. KEDV is our social state here. If there is a struggle here, if there is a challenge here, we talk to KEDV, and KEDV takes the initiative. They guide us, they direct us, they steer us. COMET project was a joint project together we implemented with KEDV, and through this project we were able to reach the women, Syrian women. We could provide them with language trainings, and still we are in touch with them. We're still cooperating with those women, and some very nice initiatives take place. Thank you very much. There's another question that I'd like to pose you. Thank you very much for informing us. You said that we empowered one another. As women, we empowered one another. And receiving that strength, that power from a sister of yours is an important factor in solving all of your problems. You stated that you realized your own power and you discovered your existing talents and skills. Again, I'm emphasizing the importance of supporting one another, be it Syrian, be it Afghan, or be it Turkish, regardless of the origin. The women arrive at the scene with their problems, with their baggage already. So this is something that lies in the nature of the women, or in order to come to that understanding, what needs to be done, in order for women to realize that they have to empower one another, what they should do. This is important. Women understand each other. Women know each other because you have a skill for empathy as women. Realizing this is easy for women, and such initiatives like our cooperative pave the way for that. We are working in solidarity, we're empowering. Come here, join us, work with us in solidarity, and let's strive to progress towards the same direction. That's the very founding principle of our cooperative as well. Therefore, it's not that difficult for us. I mean, it's in our very nature, regardless of their origin, be it from Syria, be it from some other part of the world, if they are faced hardships such as poverty, or if they are displaced from their original cities, if they want their children to receive proper education, they're all working for the same objective. We had the chance, we could easily access those women. We didn't have such difficulties in accessing women. We could easily talk to or access the women in our neighborhood. We never otherized women. We never said you are another. Because our lives are similar and the hardships we face are similar. Most of the women in pandemics, for instance, they lost their jobs. They lost their full-time jobs, not part-time, full-time jobs. Syrian women, the migrant women, we gave first they lost the job. They were the ones who to lose their jobs first. Therefore, we gave the priority to them. We know the neighborhood, we speak their language, we know how to reach them. But someone who is coming, a woman coming from Syria, has great difficulty in accessing such services. Therefore, they constituted our priority. Thank you very much. So can we say that it is the organized, just similar to Yala Trapan cooperative in Sweden, you also touched on the very simple and similar features of women. You ensured that women establish empathy for one another, and then you promoted sisterhood and you encouraged women to support one another. Thank you very much. It's always very nice to hear from you. It's always very nice to hear your stories. Now, I would like to switch back to English. I will speak in English.
I'm switching back to English, and I am going to South Africa. I see Mary Tal there, and Mary, your organization, Whole World Women Association, you are based in Cape Town, I think, now. And you are an organization that is established by refugees and supported by the host community women. Is that correct? Yeah. So Mary, I give the microphone to you, and by now you know the questions. Your motivation, what works, you think, to bring women together in solidarity, to work in solidarity, and what are the lessons learned, and how does COVID impacts these efforts, and what would you have done differently if you were and if you look back and look to your work? Please go ahead, Mary.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you for including us in the panelists. I would start by saying that the previous speakers have really given me a new lesson and a way forward to know that women everywhere in the world have the same thing in mind. They have empathy, they have solidarity, and they have love for one another. It doesn't matter whether we are Christians or Muslims or non-believers. I really want to say thank you to the previous speakers. They have immediately given me the opportunity to re-believe in myself. Taking back to the questions, I would look at what is my motivation. This is personal. I was raised by very strong women. My mother, my aunts, my two aunts, they were strong women, and they taught me to love. They gave me that opportunity to love, especially to love a woman who did not have a husband because my father had died, and who had children who were struggling to put food on the table. So when I grew up from a very young age, I was motivated to support, to be there for a woman who was struggling. And I think when I left Cameroon fleeing from the human rights abuses that are still there till now. And I arrived in South Africa, women supported me. South African women supported me, not South African Black women, South African white women, leaders in the fight against apartheid. The legacy of apartheid in South Africa had taught them to understand what it means to not have, what it means to be in a land that is so full of everything and yet you had nothing. So these women, some of them are of blessed memory, they motivated me as an individual and a group of other refugee women from the continent of Africa. They said to us, we're not going to open and start an activity for you. We're going to give you the voice to tell your own story. The pitch and the pain and the joy in your voice will be heard by other women and they will be motivated to tell their own stories. So these women actually took us all the way through registration, love and creative space and the finance and the material to start up an organization that became a home for women from every country in Africa that was fleeing human rights abuses, was fleeing war, was fleeing conflict, and etc. Whole World Women's Association became a hub for crying women, for celebrating women, for women who wanted education. And up until now, we are still that space that has allowed women to find their voice, to find their courage, and to be able to stand up for themselves. And the one thing that has really glued us together is that solidarity, is that empathy, is that understanding, is the trust. We found that women who came from conflict zones had come from countries that were fighting with each other. And when they found themselves in South Africa, they were, wherever they came from in the communities, wanted to bring the war over to South Africa. But when they found themselves in a space that only belonged to women, they began to say, no, I'm seeing a woman here looking for safety and security for her child. I'm not going to continue this war here. I'm going to start trusting this person. So for us, one of the lessons learned was that trust and patience was really important in building solidarity with women. And I will quickly speak about the name of our organization, Whole World Women's Association. We did not want to say refugee women or women from Africa or women from up or down. We wanted a space where every woman will feel at home. Every woman will feel safe. Every woman, whether it's a refugee, a local woman, or whoever came to the space, claimed that this was my place and I want to belong here. And that is the spirit that we've carried on from then and now. One of the other things that I have learned in working with women is that you need to also be a participant. Don't be facilitating all the times, because the moment I sit on the chair of a director, some of the women closed up. Because these women came, they cannot speak English the way I speak English, or they cannot speak French the way the other lady speaks French. So we have to go down to the bottom and be there for one another. Speak the same language. Be able to know that some of us are highly educated, some of us are highly qualified, but this is not a space to compete with our degrees and our qualifications. This was a space to compete with our humanity. Who brings the best soul? Who brings the best empathy? Who speaks? Who listens the most? And who contributes towards the solutions? So this is how we have navigated our space, and especially with building social cohesion. We have included local South African women who were still sick from the abuses of apartheid. Then came refugees. If we have excluded them, it could not work for us. because these were women who were still in pain, looking for healing. And so we work together. We do social cohesion activities together. We have shared spaces in telling our stories, in publishing our stories, in working together, sharing our spaces, so that South African women don't feel threatened by refugee or migrant women. Seeing also that in South Africa, we do not have refugee camps. So refugees are everywhere in their communities. And that is the highlight where you find that in South Africa, one of the challenges is the xenophobia coming from local people. In the Western Cape, Cape Town in particular, where we are settled, you will hardly ever really find the outbreak of xenophobia, because refugee organizations, including Whole World Women's Association, has made it a point to be inclusive. The moment we start isolating ourselves, we're looking for trouble. So we have worked in the communities, we have built solidarity with the women. We have a program called Building Bridges, which allows refugee and migrant women and local women to celebrate, to learn skills, new skills, in order to find their families in a better position. During COVID-19, for example, this is one of the times when I realized that being a refugee is the hardest thing in the world, especially in the world of South Africa where our women were living. Most of the women in South Africa who are refugees do not have formal jobs. So they work in the informal sector. Most of them do hair, most of them sew clothes, most of them sell stuff on the streets. These were the first people to be taken off the streets and put on lockdown. Meaning that on the Monday morning when you went to work, you thought you would have a job on the Tuesday morning. On the Tuesday morning, you had no job, you had no income, you had nowhere to go, and you had no money in your pocket. And so we found that this was the hardest thing for refugee women especially. I have spoken to women in the community. A woman expressed to me, Mary, the hardest thing for me was to ask my husband for bread money. And you could see the pain in her eyes because the husband's job was gone, her job was gone, there was no money in the family. So COVID-19 came suddenly, descended suddenly, and put those people in a very bad situation. However, going forward as an organization, we had to look for ways to reach our people. So we had to register as an essential service. Essential services could go out and distribute food, distribute sanitary stuff, distribute medication, which the Whole World Women's Association then started by registration as an essential service, and then we were given a certificate to put on the car. Because we are a refugee-led organization, we knew exactly where to find our women. We knew exactly where to go to find the women who could not come out in order to deliver the food at their doorstep or at their gates, okay? And one of the other things that we did was to build solidarity with women organizations who then began to give us the opportunity to sustain the organization. When there were food parcels, we were then called upon to also collect for our women, which is why I go again to say, women and solidarity is the closest thing to my heart. As COVID-19 has moved on, we were also accommodated by a group of refugee-led organizations under the banner of the Open Society Foundation that helped us to raise money and reach the most hard-to-reach refugees. And finally, we also had a group of international experts that we met on Zoom every week. Every week we were on the Zoom call talking about domestic violence, abuse of women, rape of girls, unwanted pregnancies. Access to the hospitals was difficult. So even in South Africa at the moment, so many people died. Almost 17,000 people have died. Because refugees and South Africans live together, I cannot immediately say so many refugees died because they are all in the mix. And so it is still difficult for us, but the families that lost members, we supported them, those that we knew. So that is as far as COVID-19 is concerned. Moving forward, I think organizations that support refugees, particularly refugee women, should take this moment to build solidarity with one another, internationally, locally, and I think globally, because then we can share those resources that are available to us as women. During this time of COVID-19, a lot of us as leaders fell into depression because we had nobody to talk to share what was going on in our minds, what our fears were, and if there were solutions. So I'm really grateful for this platform, and I look forward to more sharing. And yeah, thank you.
Okay. Mary, thank you. This is an excellent, excellent contribution. I think you really built on what Christina and Gülten has already mentioned, and you added to what they said. I mean, Gülten and Christina both mentioned, solidarity, understanding each other, empathy, and love for each other, supporting each other. But you put an element of trust there, and you put an element of inclusivity, not excluding any woman, like bringing the refugee woman and the national woman, host community woman together as also a method of social cohesion and, addressing possible conflict. And you actually brought in the concept of humility, and not to fight each other with our status as diplomas, but to bring each other and to compete with each other on humanity and listening each other and empathizing with each other, building bridges with each other. You always talked about the importance of this COVID moment and how it is important now to build national, international solidarity and to share resources available to women. Excellent, excellent. And you talked about tactics of how you managed to reach out to outreach women in this COVID. And you said how you really creatively registered as essential services so that you can go out and meet women face to face. I don't think I am doing a justice to your rich presentation, but thank you very much for the wonderful contribution you made. No? Now I will go again to Turkey, and then in Turkey there is the Syrian Women Network, and I will invite Malam Abdul Razak to please talk to the issues we have been discussing. Malam, the word is yours. Yeah.
I am very happy to be here today. I am very optimistic. Seeing all these experiences and all these exceptional ladies who are sharing their personal experiences, and I feel very proud, and this is now motivating me to go ahead and move forward and continue, because seeing people who believe in change can really motivate you, to work, to make a change. I am now working in an initiative called KEDV. It started in 2017, and it was started as a very small idea. It started with capacity building of women who are working of taking part in social action, and to provide services to others in order to make a change. And through the past few years, we were experiencing this. Every woman can give, is a giver, and every woman can, and the entire world can solve its problems when you can feel compassionate and feel empathy for other people. So we should believe in empowering others in order to make the change. We work with women in three main sectors: media, political, and economic empowerment. And we are working in coordination with other NGOs, and we are still not registered, and we're working on this, and hopefully the next few coming months we are going to be registered. And we are working in Gaziantep, and we have a lot of volunteers. We conducting more than 27 workshops and course training last year, and we are conducting we're holding meetings once a week, every Friday, discussing different issues, interviewing artists. So as you can say, we formed a core, a mini core, where women are able to express themselves, and we were receiving help from other NGOs, and we were providing trainers in addition to humanitarian action within our limited resources. And since 2017, we're working in different sectors. Even we held courses, teaching Turkish language courses, because we're living in Turkey. So we are trying our best to reach the citizens of this hosting country as much as we can by learning its language within our limited resources. Again, we have a small project called Great Women. It got its name from the idea that every woman is a great woman, whether she's a mother or not married or a student. We all have values and capacities that, if they are deployed appropriately, then we can make a change. We also screen movies, that influential movies. When I share my feelings with other people, and they share the same feelings, so this makes me feel that I'm not alone and makes me feel stronger. All of our work is voluntarily, and we are not being paid. We are working because we want to achieve a lot of things, a lot of dreams. We want to create a creative where women can live with dignity and can be able to provide for themselves and for their families, and can make a change. Of course, there are obstacles and challenges, financial obstacles, the language barrier. As Syrians in Turkey, we are here in big numbers, and many of us have very high university degrees. However, they don't have job opportunities. So we work to create such opportunities for them, and And we have another project where we have women's handcraft project where women make little things and sell them, and there they can create, they can have their own income and participate, and therefore contribute to the education of their children and to the household expenses of the household. So this is the third year of this project. Regarding COVID-19, we launched a campaign called "Tahtak Tahti," which is your health and my health. So if I take care of myself, and if I am aware of what I should do and how to protect myself and how to protect my family, then the society will be protected eventually as well. How we can help here in Turkey and how we can distribute little aid, and this campaign was financed by people who just wanted to help, and we had, and we were communicating via WhatsApp because we knew that we weren't supposed to get together and to gather. And there is something that I would like to emphasize. Through ICLI, we try to create an opportunity for women who are not able to find the place in, who are not able to work or who are not away from their families. So we have also a campaign for small internship. Even if you have very little capacities and sources, but you can still launch your small business. The last thing that I would like to talk about is how we can network, how we can cooperate and collaborate with other NGOs and women. We have many ideas that I would like to implement. The most important thing is to collaborate and cooperate with each other. NGOs shouldn't be closed on themselves. They should be open to each other in order to help create job opportunities. Maybe we have experience in facilitating training, so we can offer our services to other parties, or peace building. So there should be cooperation, collaboration, and networking. I'm really looking forward to learning about the experience of other women outside Turkey or inside Turkey, because I feel that they're going to have an added value to my experience, and therefore learn and implement in the community. So we need to benefit from each other's resources. Thank you so much for you all, for all great women in all the world. So if you have any question, I'll be very happy to answer your question.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you for this excellent contribution. I think you are really an example of women's solidarity in your own organization. You said you are all coming voluntarily to help each other and to support each other and to enable each other to access employment, access education, and also to create pathways for social cohesion through supporting women learning language and bringing different cultures together, etc. And you are making really important suggestions that, that all organizations working in this field, whether it is NGO or cooperatives or other women's organizations, that they should be open to each other. They should learn from their work, but also share resources where possible, no? And create opportunities for each other to access resources and services. Thank you very much for your really important contribution. It is great to have you here, and we look forward to engaging with you even more closely in the process. Now I would like to go to Middle East, to Lebanon, Dhamma Foundation. Ghada, you are there, Ghada Abu Mesto. Ghada, can we also hear your experiences there? And I know that you are also an organization that is working with refugees and host community women, trying to build solidarity and work together and contribute to peaceful societies together. So can you please tell us about your experiences, your learning, and your suggestions for the future?
Good afternoon. I'm Ghada. We are the head of Dhamma organization. We are in Lebanon, in Al Beqa Valley, where it hosts the largest group of Syrian refugees. My husband has been detained since 2012 in Syria as a political detainee, and I am a refugee. When I arrived to Lebanon, I felt that we have a lot to do, especially with the women in the refugee camps. In Lebanon, the economic is collapsing, and it's going even worse towards collapsing. There are some practices against refugees. So I thought that we really do need to do something about refugees, especially the most vulnerable groups, which are women and children. We were a group of women. We registered an organization in Lebanon, and we started with education for kids, in addition to working with women. In terms of our work with women, we are working on economic empowerment to have women be the breadwinner of themselves, to support themselves, because when women are economically independent, they will be able to provide more and to work in the public space and to provide for her kids as well. We also work on the advocacy for the detainees or missing persons. So we call ourselves that, or we say that the families of the missing people and the detainees is a larger group that need to be taken into consideration, especially in refuge areas. They are a very important group, and those women in these families are the supporters of their households. So we have women from these families, whether widows or the wives of detainees or missing persons. We're working with them. I will talk about the economic empowerment that I'm doing. We are helping these women to provide to work. Even if we try to get out of the stereotype of the role of women, but we can't deny that women are genius in sewing, in knitting. So we do workshops in these fields. We also provide training on English language, the use of computer as part of the cognitive empowerment. We also do training or raising awareness about legal and rights issues for women. In our organization, we have good access to the groups of women refugees. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, we started to think, as women, what can we provide for the community we're living? Through the groups we're working with, we started to generate very impressive ideas that can be useful for the host community. So we organize ourselves, and a group of women from certain geographic areas in the Beqa Valley, we communicated with leaders, with women leaders who are influential in areas. So we had 40 active women who were able to make needs assessment and to provide for the community they are living in. And they managed to provide the service to the community. So we managed to do something to the host community during the pandemic. We're still working with these groups, and we are improving the skills of this group in the medical aspect, and we're trying to provide psychosocial support or psychosocial training for those people, to provide support for people who are affected by the lockdown during the pandemic time. In terms of solidarity, we always focus on equality for all people, and we refuse any kind of discrimination or abuses. Based on that, we work on issues related to this issue. We believe that all peoples on the ground have the right to decent living, and we know that through upholding these principles and values, we can reach peace, and we can create a safe environment for women to work and to provide more. In terms of lessons learned, I can see that as women, we have the power to change the world and to change our reality, because women are peacemakers. We believe that women are peacemakers, and we can reach peace. In terms of the issue of detainees or the missing persons, if we have solidarity, we can have a strong voice to pay justice to those people who were affected mostly by this issue and by the conflict in Syria. We always confirm that we are the right owners, and we can do better work to achieve our demands and to fulfill our demands. To speak about the road ahead, I think we have a lot of issues, but right now, regardless of the conditions, whether we're talking about the COVID-19 or any other challenges, we have very important issues that we need to focus on all the time, like education. And we are working, we're trying to advocate the education of refugee women and children, in addition to the issue of detainees and missing persons, as well as the economic empowerment. Right, in this period, we provided some work in terms of the provision of relief items, because we are working in refugee camps. So we were looking for the families that are most in need, and we did some awareness raising about sanitation, about cleaning. Although this was made within smaller groups of people, but we are continuing with them, trying to show them that they have someone to go back to get information. Okay. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I will be more than glad to answer.
Thank you, Gada. I think the questions will follow later. We will have time and we will pose the questions that are in the sideline to you, and you can all answer. But thank you for contribution. I think you, again, like Christina and Gultan and Mary, you have talked about building on the existing skills of women. Whether it is in the field of providing economic empowerment or community empowerment, building on existing skill and building from there forward is very, very important. It doesn't matter if it's classified the typical gender role. It is important to know that women have skills in certain areas, and we need to recognize that, and we need to put this into work, you said. I think the other thing is very interesting in your approach is that you brought the community leadership. Again, it is a little bit similar to other approaches, but you have community leaders that can go and work in their communities. And then with these community leaders, especially in COVID-19, you as refugees have provided services to women, the host community women, to bring the women from host community and refugee community together. That is really very interesting and you know, an example of how can solidarity work. And you know, the refugees are not only expecting services, but they are ready to contribute to their community as well. You are giving that message. I think it is really a very good example of that. And then you talked about women as peace builders in their communities and in their in the world, and the power of women to contribute to the social change. Thank you very much, Gada. It is really excellent to listen to each of you. It is very enriching, I think, all your experiences. And I wish I had more time to ask you more questions, you know, because everything you are saying is leading to, it is like an PhD, you know, what you are doing is so important. I want to go to Ekram now, Ekram Nassef from KEDV. And she's working, Ekram is working from home to home support system in KEDV. Ekram, can we hear your contributions? I mean, you heard the other panelists. You have the advantage of hearing the other panelists now, and maybe you can talk about the similarities maybe in approach, and then maybe if there is something really different that you are doing, you can mention that as well for us now. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I am very happy listening to all these experiences and the achievement of the great ladies here. I am Ekram Naizif, and I am a social researcher, and we work with women. We assess their needs, and there have been meetings conducted. Since we are there have been Turkish and Syrian ladies participating, so we had regular meetings conducted on a weekly basis. Of course, we had the language barrier because some of the Syrian ladies knew Turkish, and some of the Turkish ladies knew how to speak Arabic. So this facilitated our work, and we collected information from the women, their needs, and we referred them, and we were able to help a lot of them, whether Turkish or Syrian ladies. And there were leadership trainings that were conducted where women learned a lot, and they started to have the motivation to open small businesses, even from home, starting from home. And they had, some of them had children. So we opened a kindergarten in order to create, however, we organized activities targeting the children. And we were communicating with these ladies through WhatsApp, and we gave them information about precaution, protection from COVID-19, etc. Because some of them were having problems. Some of the skills that we learned is, one of the skills that we learned from these trainings is how to listen to them, how to stop, when to stop, how to deal with them. Because we are researchers, we are not specialized. In addition, we conducted a session with a psychiatrist, regular sessions on a weekly basis, and this psychiatrist helped them a lot, and they really liked these sessions because they were able to empty those negative energy, so to speak, and because children were staying at home, so the children were bored. So unfortunately, that affected the parents as well. So we created a group especially for women who have children in order to organize activities where children can empty their energy, in addition to sessions to how to deal with the psychological pressure that they were experiencing and the obstacles that they were deal with the obstacles that they were facing due to the isolation and lockdown that they experienced. And now the ladies have a very big motivation. We are Syrian refugees, and they're refugees as well, and we have the same concerns. We had a lot in common, and we had a lot of common ideas, and they were able to direct the negative energy that they had to create something positive. I don't know if I answered all of your questions. What I am asking of is to have a coordination between Syrian and Turkish NGOs, since some NGOs are able to create job opportunities for women and are able to provide other services. So if there is a cooperation and collaboration between among those NGOs, so I think that the women will have more opportunities. Now there are field trips that are being organized for children. There are a lot of activities and that are being held, like breakfast, picnics. We were able to overcome the language barrier, and there is a very good communication among Turkish and Syrian women. So if there are any other questions that I haven't answered yet, please let me know.
No, but Akram, thank you very much. I mean, you are really adding to the discussion, saying that one is listening and knowing how to listen to people is very, very important. The second is, you are really contributing in important way, saying that, you really need to address unpaid care work, women's care work, if you want to release the energy of women. And what you saw is, creating activities for children and creating that space is really contributing to release time and energy that women have to be directed somewhere else and to tap into their skills. And you are, again, like other speakers, talking about the importance of collaboration between refugee organizations and national organizations, women's organizations, in support of women, and really collectively looking into strategies for creating employment for women. Yeah. Thank you, Akram. Now I would like to go to Shangul Akhtar, the executive director of KEDV. And Shangul, you heard our 6 panelists, and we tried to summarize each discussion. Based on these discussions, if you can give us with a conclusion of what is important in collective action of women and in working together, and what is the way forward for, increased solidarity and collective action among women and their organizations. Please.
Hello, everyone. I must say I'm very thrilled with everything I've heard, and these really motivated me to wrap up. by coming together, working together, women are very good at finding more inclusive and creating much more safer spaces. Women assume a critical role in creating those safe spaces. And once we tackle with the question of how women do this, there are a few things, as former panelists have mentioned. First of all, through several actors and situations, they have lost their confidence maybe, but now they're regaining it. The needs as well as the solutions created for those needs. They are able to create their own solutions. They're able to determine their own needs. They have always opted for democratic and participatory processes, and only then opportunities as well as resources could be matched. And once this is done, as we have seen for ourselves, as we have witnessed, women are capable of creating collective solutions. From here, I'd like to go to this path. These examples are also creating, these are also nice examples for policymakers who formulate policies which really affect our lives. When we look at the situation from refugee perspective, especially from the Turkish case, there are 5 million migrants in Turkey working for a decent life, and it is very hard for governments to do so, which is the case in Jordan or Palestine. Even if if all we need is money, even if we could come out with relevant financial resources, still coming up with effective solutions is not that easy. Not only the international development agencies, not only all the senior level decision makers or humanitarian aid institutions, they have to change their perspective. They have to change their mentality. They have to formulate their programs accordingly. Whatever initiative that they are running, whatever program that they are designing, whatever plan that they are creating, they must always embed this women on the floor, on the very basis, into the processes. You should always engage women. Only then you can achieve the desired results. Women, as women, we must know this from the bottom of our hearts. Here, I think Malem said something. She said that every woman is very powerful. That's the truth. Every woman, even if she's working at home, even if she's taking care of her children, you call them, she's not working, but she is creating $10 trillion of net worth on an annual basis with the household unpaid labor that they do. These women are not weak. The policymakers as well as the NGOs should be well aware of this, should refrain from making the same mistake. Women, they focus on the weaknesses or the victimized features of women. We must instead focus on the power of women, because they create economic value when they are taking care of their children or the elderly or the other. They are the ones which keep the neighborhood together. We cannot even imply that they are weak. We must always refrain from such discourses, even in the narratives that we create. After those very nice examples, we do know that in every part of the world, there is not only the refugee issue, but there is the problem of climate change or other problems. There are very nice women creating very nice examples in local level. These are the areas which need further investment. Here we need to come together. Only then we can change these policies. That's what I think.
Thank you, Şengül. Is that? Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it is really a very good summary and suggestion for the future as well, especially the changing how you view refugees or women, and whether you tap on their strengths or weaknesses, and how there is a need to change the whole narrative and conceptualization in the aid sector for everyone, not only international organizations, but everyone. Is very good emphasis. Thank you very much. And as you know, all these sessions are recorded, so you can also listen to it later. Now, there are lots of questions and comments on the chat box, and probably some of the panelists have read them. I will try to distill some of them. And I will ask it generally, and then I think if some of you can come with an answer, please. No, the first question is about business models. No, many questions come, and people say that, okay, the soft side is fine, building solidarity, building a community, sense of community among women, and bringing women together, and emphasizing their strengths and so on. Yes, it is not very easy, but I think we know how to do it, and there are lots of suggestions. But they are asking, what are the business models that can work for economic empowerment of women? And this question comes especially from Turkey, but also for Lebanon and Africa as well, I think, that it is suggested that we are maybe progressing less in terms of economic empowerment of women, and we know less maybe on economic models that will work for economic empowerment of women. So if any of the panelists would like to contribute on the business models that will work for women, that will be really excellent. Yeah. And the second is that second question is that, okay, we are building the solidarity and the community support systems and so on, but there is an increase in negative perceptions towards refugees, especially. No? And how do we tackle this imbalance that, women from different cultures and different backgrounds come together, but in the society there is an increase of negative perception and increased polarization all around, I think, not only towards refugee women. How do we address this? No, this is the second important question that came. And then if we can start with these two questions, please. And can I ask a volunteer to start, or I'm gonna name one of you, the panelists, to start? Mary, do you want to start? And then maybe later Gülten, especially in the business model that will work.
Okay.
And maybe Christina, you can add as well.
Coming to the first question about business model. In South Africa, where I have my experience working with women, I must be sincere to say that creating a business with a group of women was very difficult. Giving women, allowing women to learn the skills and create their own businesses was really successful. Even in a cooperative situation, allowing a woman to make unique items and sell them for herself was successful. Where we found that if we brought capital, this is a life experience, we shared capital to groups of women who spent that money on different things and changed their home addresses. And that is the most unique thing that I found in the refugee community in which I work, where it was difficult to trace those people because they had changed their addresses. But if they had a business of their own, it became more successful. When it was a group business, it was very difficult. I will share another example where I learned from some colleagues in Nepal, where they give out small loans to women who do things in the community as a cooperative. And I was being invited to go for such a business. Personally, I became very worried because these women will disappear on me. They are women from everywhere else in the continent. How am I going to trace those women? It was difficult for me. That is my experience. I don't know if I'm allowed to go to the next question.
Maybe we get a little bit more input on business models and then we go to the next question. Gülten, Christina, or others, Malam, would you like to contribute on business models that can work for women?
Well, the model that we have built up at Yallatrappan, first of all, I want to say one thing, that we have two women here taking part of this meeting, and they have waiting for their time to say something as well. So I hope you don't forget them.
No, okay.
Thank you. But the model is that the women that we have educated and we have employed, well, we own it ourselves at Yallatrappan, they are now models for new women coming. So that means that the women at Yallatrappan now is training new ones in the different business that we have. And that means that they are a front figure for those coming into us, in the same time as they can be a good example of this. So, but it always have to be the balance between what the women can create and what they can work with, if you compare with the needed in the society and what's needed in the neighborhood, so to say. And so it's always a challenge, but I can say today we have great agreement and good connection with both IKEA and H&M and Skanska and other big companies in Sweden. But it have taken us 10 years to come there. But it's today in Sweden, it's this kind of social sustainability and social solidarity. Many of the companies, the more commercial companies, they want to show up that they have this a partnership with a social entrepreneurship. So that's a good thing for us, because as long as we have a good quality, we make things in time and so on. So I think there must be a needed, because everybody have to have the salary, and where comes the money from? So that's why you have to have a business model that can create money so you can pay the salary. And you can't do that blind. You have to see what's the needed in the society. And that's why I think it's so important that we have both the knowledge of the women's professionality and the different activities, but in the same time that we have women as me or others that can see the needed and can see the market, what's going on in the society. Because just sitting there and do things that no one will buy, no one will want to buy, that's unforgivable. You can't do that.
Thank you. Yeah, can I go to your other panelists then? I mean, and to actually, I don't know the names with the other panelists, but I can see you. You registered as Christina Merker as well. So, and to ask you what works for you, no? I mean, to ask you what works for you in the business model, but also in addressing the negative perceptions in the society towards refugee or low-income women. What can be done? And what can we do together to address this?
Hi, first and foremost.
I see three faces there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna translate into Swedish.
Yeah. Okay.
I have with me Rukaya.
Hi.
Hey, and Gulnaz is right here.
Hey. Hi, Gulnaz. How are you?
Fine.
Nice to meet you.
And the lady is talking. She is now in a program that we have, and it's 6 months. And half a day, they are practiced in one of our activities that can be sewing, making food, or cleaning. And the other half day, they have trainee in the language and out from where their activities, but also about how it is to have a work and what is needed for that. And it's also about their rights when they have a work. So half a day it's the practice and half a day it's a theory, so to say. And it's always connected with each other. So that's the way that you can find the motivation. And then we have today in Malmö 7 different places where we have activities. We have 3 restaurants, we have 3 sewing studios, and so on. And that means that they can practice in our own business. And after that, we have a very good connection with the big companies, so they can come out to other companies after that. But it's very much about, once again, that they have the teachers are themselves from the same background. So they have, our teachers have 2 languages. They have both the Arabic or Somalian or what it can be, and Swedish. So they can understand each other. So that's the whole point of it, that they have a front figure that stands in front of them and as their teachers and so on. So I think that was what she wanted to say.
Christina, thank you. I need to intervene here. I am going to leave you as your moderator, but we will continue for another 10-15 minutes because there are lots of questions. And I think you have an excellent, excellent contribution. And we want to give the chance to the listeners to hear you and answer the questions. My colleague Bahar will take over from here. I have to join another meeting with my excuses. I am very happy to have met you all. Thank you very much for your contributions. And Bahar will also mention that all these recordings and minutes will be shared with everyone. And we will look into how we can continue this collaboration after this workshop. Thank you, Bahar, and thank you, KEDV, for organizing this, and look forward to see you later. And I leave it to you, and I have to leave now. Bye-bye.
Thank you indeed, Marianne, for all the nice contribution you have provided so far. I will be moderating the questions from now on. We do not want to interrupt people because we have really questions flooding into the workshop, into the webinar, and we want them get answered. I will not be asking questions from the floor separately. I'll be posing some general questions to all the panelists so they can, make comments on them generally. So some of your questions, separate questions, individual questions might go unanswered, you may think, but please pay attention that there might be some general answers given to the question as a whole. And also, the answers to the questions will be shared in the report coming out of this webinar as well. As I said before, questions will be more of general nature. Well, people are asking about the sustainability of the businesses, of the initiatives. Women, they might get engaged in businesses collectively or initiatives collectively, entrepreneurships collectively, but those entrepreneurial activities or initiatives or collective actions may not be sustainable. So what do you recommend for them to be sustainable? And a second question is about collaboration that you get engaged with the municipalities. What kind of collaborations do you get engaged in when it comes to collaboration with the municipalities and the other institutions? What kind of collaborations do you conduct, and what are the benefits of those collaborations, of those forms of collaboration? So these are some general questions posed to your side. So I'll be expecting some general answers from the panelists. The third question is about the prejudice in the community against the refugees, against the women. What do you recommend people for them to overcome those prejudices? And these are the questions. And lastly, once you answer those questions? Well, let me put it this way. We are so much delighted to be here today to listen to the contributions, but how can we sustain this collaboration between us? How can we be aware of the activities that we have been doing separately? So how can we be in touch? This is the last question. So the floor is yours, the panelists. Whoever would like to take the first floor, the floor is yours, any of you. So the sustainability question is number one, and the collaboration, forms of collaborations with the other actors, including municipalities.
So since we are providing a training for women, they are training them how to do this. So all the information we are providing to them, they are training other women at a later stage. So we are training leading women or leaders women who can make what they have inside them to something positive in the future. In terms of the perceptions that you talked about in the meetings that happened between the Turkish and the Syrian women, they got better knowledge for each other. They learned about the traditions and the culture of each other, and when they did so, a lot of the barriers fell down, and the Syrian women started to be more keen to learn the language in order to be able to meet with the Turkish ladies. Of course, in those meetings, we had interpreters doing the interpretation between the both parties, but they wanted to meet with each other. And some women, Syrian ladies, wanted to teach the Turkish ladies Arabic language and vice versa. So this integration helped us to continue and to give more for those women, and this allowed them as well to give more.
Thank you indeed, Ekram, especially for underlining the importance of communication, how important it is to sustain the communication and touch between us all. And Gülten wanted to take the floor. The floor is yours, Gülten. Hello everyone. Well, sustainability. Sustainability is about being open, being transparent, and absence of marginalization. And it has been 17 years since our organization has been founded. And what we have seen in the last 17 years is the race doesn't matter, the children or women, the age doesn't matter. Transparency matters, actually. In this respect, we try to be transparent, and we try to foster collaboration with municipalities and with the other organizations that can support women. So as long as you are honest, as long as you are transparent, you can be sustainable and you can be successful. But you have to be making efforts in being frank, in being honest, in being transparent, and you have to, nurture the relations that you have fostered with the women. We collaborate with the local government, with the municipalities. We get their support and collaboration. We also foster collaboration with the locals in the neighborhood, in the region. This is also important. And we had a joint work with KEDV for women, and we created jobs for the women in that joint activity. And we taught women what they could do in case of a disaster. We taught them what they could do, what they needed to do in case of a disaster, etc. And we did lots of awareness raising activities jointly and transparently. So our organization is an organization which is acting like a referral mechanism. So people are calling us and they are asking for certain services, and we are referring them to those services as required. And we're also referring women to jobs. If handicrafts are required, then we immediately pinpoint the women in the network, and we can give them jobs to do some handicrafts and sell them. For example, during the pandemic, we distributed some sewing machinery to the women for them to do some handicrafts, so to make some handicrafts and sell them, and to make short-term livelihood during the pandemic. Exactly. So these are things that we need to do specifically. Thank you. Anyone else from the floor? Christina, the floor is yours. And then Marlene will take the floor after Christina. Christina, so the floor is yours. Well,
Thank
Christina.
Thank you.
There was a question about the legal status of your organization. What is the legal status of your cooperative? So what are the benefits of being a cooperative? Does it bring about any advantages in terms of legal issues that you're a cooperative? Thank you.
Well, as I said in the beginning there, that it's one woman, one vote. So it's the basic and the fundamental for all democracy, as I think. But I also want to be a part of this talk about the sustainability and the collaboration and prejudice. And about sustainability, I could say like this, that we have all the three sustainability matters. It's about the environment, it's about the economical, and it's about the social. Så ni får gå ut. And I'm sorry. And it's in you, Asun, what you were saying, I could say exactly the same. So there must be something that we have in common, your organization and our organization, because it's the transparency and all those things that we also have to show that you have results. So, for example, in our Jalatrappan, we have equal salaries and we have salaries that it's built upon the trade unions exceptions, and we have also other things that all this transparency, it's so important. About the collaboration, I think just like you had, Aisun, is that we have cooperation both with big companies, and we are not making a handcraft so much, but we are making more on orders from big other companies that we can, for example, curtains and other things that's easy to sew. So we do that a lot. And also collaboration, of course, and partnership with the municipality. So, for example, in our big, very expensive kitchen, half of the paying there is from the municipality, and half is from us, because we can't do it ourselves. We don't have that money. So we have shown that we are successful. We could do something that the municipalities have difficulty to do, to give the women that working with Jalatrappan a platform that on the train, and here we go. And the municipalities haven't been successful in that work at all. They have big difficulties there. But we have a method that shows the way. And that means that the municipality, they want to hold our hand and in participation. And when it's about the prejudice, and when the gap and the racism in our country today, in the whole Europe, in the whole world, it's something that we here all together have to fight against. And I think, as we said in the beginning, that the women is always the taking care of the peace movement. And if we could show that we could cooperate with each other, despite of where we come from and the religion and so on, we could also be the one who show for our children, for the society, for the municipality, and so on, that we are here and we show the way. And I get myself lots of letters with hate and things like that. But we have a very famous Swedish writer, Astrid Lindgren. I don't know if you have heard about it. She writes children's books and Pippi Longstrump and everything, what it's called. And she says, either you stand up for what you believe in, otherwise you're just a spot on the wall. I don't want to be the spot on the wall. I will always stand up for what I believe in. And that's what we women, I can see here, we all together have.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you indeed. Well, we have underlined common points, actually. We underlined what we could. Well, do you have some concrete recommendations about what we could do together? What could be the next steps when it comes to collaboration between us from now on? So before closing the day, I think we can come up with some common or concrete recommendations about what we could do together from now on. Marlem, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's a very important question. As we have seen today, we have a lot of resources. My suggestion is if there is a place or a platform on the internet where all the participating organization can are present to see the activities they do, because each organization has its own projects and experience. So it's important to have one place to go to see all of these experiences and to learn lessons. It's very important to share our emails with each other. I can share, for example, the experience with another organization that does a work that is similar to my work. It's very important to keep in contact and not to have this one-time meeting. It's important to keep in touch, or to create a group on WhatsApp, for example. So if I need an expert in the field of advocacy, for example, for women issues, so I may see who can participate or volunteer to do such a work with me. Maybe if someone wants any experience in managerial issues, I have that experience, I can share it with you. I think the 16 days campaign for combating violence against women is soon. It will be very useful to do a joint activity together, and our voices as women from Sweden, from South Africa, Syria, Lebanon, Turkey, from Spain, we will have a very louder voice together. Mary said a very important sentence, that to tell women that you must not take the role of facilitator only, you have to participate as well. And this is a call for all women, and everybody, all women can participate and can provide and do something. So if you agree with this suggestions, so we can participate with each other in the campaign of combating violence against women in the coming days. That will be very nice contribution and outcome of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marlem. This was a really good summary. You have really very well summarized what we aim to achieve, but also what we are facing ahead. Thank you very much for this inclusive summary. Mary, I think, would you like to say a few words? Is there anything you would like to add?
Yes, thank you very much again. I think the previous speaker just actually read my mind. It would be important for us to do something together for the 16 days of activism, even if it's just getting together on a platform like this. And it would be important for us to really get to know each other in order that there should be some smooth lines of communication and building some trust and knowledge. And I do agree that we need some way to expose ourselves to one another in order to learn what we are doing, no matter where we are. And last but not the least, it is also very important for us as refugee women groups or groups working with refugee women to begin to create the intention that we do not need to depend on funders to support the work that we are doing, because it's about human beings, and human beings are about life and sustaining that life. It's not about pursuing people to help you to sustain that life. So we need to think about creative ways of building a movement for ourselves. Wherever we are, we need to think about that. How do we build that movement that sustains our work and leaves the legacy when we are no longer here? We could start now and will be successful in the next 20 years, but we need to start thinking about a movement that builds solidarity for organizations like ours. So I think I thank you, and I'm very happy to meet everyone. And thank you for your contributions and your teachings.
You've also touched upon some very important issues. You stated the importance of feeling the strength within, because we feel this better when we're together, and we should never rely on any other financial resources. We have to keep this sustainable. We have to find sustainable resources for ourselves, for our being. Is there anyone? Ikram, can you hear me? Would you like to say anything?
As my colleague said, I would like to have updates from each other to see what projects are being implemented, what we are doing with each other, and what work we are going to have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ikram. Now, Gada from
okay,
Shengül, can you hear me? How we can continue in the aftermath of this webinar? What we can do? Finally, how can we sustain such cooperation? How can we follow up? And then we will wrap up. Sorry, we request from you to wrap up, taking into account all the examples that have been given so far, the women's collectives in local level, especially the women's cooperatives established jointly by the host community and refugee women, and their experience. They have a political face, and we need to reflect, to the extent that is possible, the results in the political level to the governments. We know where the governments are facing challenges, and especially in terms of humanitarian aid extended to Syrians or other refugees. Like it is stated that 20% only of those aids are spent for the refugees, but the rest are shared upon other large stakeholders, like they are consumed, those resources are consumed in vain. And such groups like us, facilitating NGOs, should be involved in direct projects. I mean, there should be resources allowed for direct projects. We should strive to make sure that these aids reach the appropriate addresses and not get lost in the way or shared by some other groups. We must bring those groups together and ensure that our voice is heard through different platforms. The refugees must have their own voices heard, regardless of the country that they are residing in. Thank you very much. Finally, we need to preserve our own voice. We need to raise our own voice. All of us have to do this. We need to stand together. We need to continue to working together. We feel ourselves responsible to do that. Just as Şengül said, as the NGOs, we would like to be a part of this by doing the right thing. On our behalf, I can speak. I can say that, just like Malem said, we must continue to meet in online platforms. Just like Ikram said, maybe we can start a series of meetings, just like this one. We will be sharing the outputs of this webinar as well with you. And this is definitely going to shed a light upon the further work. We would like to maintain close relationship with each and every one of you. Thank you very much. All the participants, all the panelists, every contributor, you have our email. We have your email addresses. We will be sending you the outputs as well as the results of this meeting. Could you please turn on your cameras? Let's take a final picture. Could you all please turn on your cameras? ladies and gentlemen. We are crowded, I know, but we will take a final shot of everyone. So could you please start your video? Is there anyone? Can you please start your video? Şengül Hanım, I'd like to see your face better. Please show us your face. Lower down your camera. Let's see your nice smile. Thank you very much. We can wave. I'm sure there's someone who's taking a photo, eh? Is there anyone who's taking a photo?
Thank you so much. I would like to thank
A
you
group
all.
shot, maybe. Thank you very much. Hope to see you again in further webinars, in future webinars. Hope to see you again. Take good care of yourselves. Lots of love. Bye-bye.